Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I'm the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, he who remains, the master of the deceptive arts, and the voice of the Vasectomites. And today is going to be a great day of celebration and also of personal triumph, because today we are going to take the first steps towards living a life that is truly in the solitude. Today, I'd like you to embrace and absorb the spirit and the philosophy of selfishness. I want you to grasp selfishness in its full meaningfulness and view it as a light and as a guiding light to take you to your true salvation. You now have the right and the authority and the uninhibited jurisdiction to be as selfish and as self-centered in your life and in your affairs and in your dealings as is humanly possible. No longer are you bound by the distress, the affliction, the adversity, the heaviness of generosity, of sharing and rationing out your resources, your riches, and your revenues with anyone. You have embraced the way of the bachelor as the path that you will follow. You have embraced the deceptive arts as your weapon and your shield, in particular with the Romance wars. And now we must add another level and another layer to our philosophy of self-preservation, and that is selfishness. For us as bachelors, selfishness means to accrue as much money as possible and then to save that money up, to lock it away, and to protect it. Now, I would have liked to use the euphemism resources rather than the blunt word money, but indeed I have to be direct, right? This is Earth. You are on Earth, the biggest corporation in the known universe. And in this world, at this time, money is the vehicle that you will need to get you every resource that you could ever need. You're going to need money, and you're going to need to protect it. And of all the things that you could be selfish about and selfish with, money is the thing to be the most selfish with, right? Time has its value indeed, right? And you want to use your time to make your money, right? So you do want to be selfish with your time, particularly because we cannot remake time, right? We can try and travel through history and grab various documents that will assist us in our understanding and knowledge. All knowledge is history. There is no knowledge in the future. The future knowledge has not arrived to us yet, right? And when it does arrive, we will firmly put it in history where we can visit again and again and recapture that information. But let's define the word selfish, all right? Selfishness is when one is concerned excessively and exclusively with oneself, seeking or concentrating on one's own advantage, pleasure, or well being without regard for others. There's another definition here which says it is arising from concern with one's own welfare or advantage in regards of others. I think that's pretty much the same thing, right? In other words, you need to put yourself before society. This is the bachelor's creed, right? You need to put yourself before society. And in this society, all things are taken into account. We are all pretty much born equally. We are born through the same exact mechanism, and most of us are actually born in the same places, right? There aren't that many hospitals around the world, and there aren't that many places that give birth to children inside the hospital. It's a very specific place, and all the kids are ran through that particular place. What you may find is that the children that are born in a certain year or in a certain generation, you'll find that most of them are born in, especially in like one country or area, they'll be born in of two or three hospitals. And you'll know exactly where those hospitals are. So we all come here through the same mechanism. We all come here through the same path. And we all have more or less the same features, right? 10 fingers and 10 toes, 2 eyes, nose, and such, right? This is what makes us human. This is what makes us human. Otherwise, we would be of another species, right? That being said, what you need as a human, not as a cat, not as a mouse, not as a tiger or a lion or a giraffe, as a human being on this earth is money, right? It is the vehicle from or to which and by which all things in the bachelor life will come to you, right? We could discuss things like being selfish with knowledge, wisdom, advice, information, education, that kind of thing. But that would be a contradiction, right? You need to think of it the opposite way, right? You need to share your knowledge, your wisdom, your advice with people in exchange for money. I'm speaking professionally now. When you give people information and advice, you need to give it to them in a way that they can utilize it and gain benefit from that in whatever capacity that they're going to use it in, away from you. So they're not going to be using the skills you teach them against you. That's happened to me. Very unfortunate situation. The deceptive arts are truly deceptive. You can't trust anyone, but we do need to teach them. The problem is then the practitioners that you teach the deceptive arts to will then try those arts on you in order to affirm that in fact they do work, and sadly they do. So yes, it's part of the tricks of the trade, right? The practitioner will deceive the master as the master will deceive the practitioner. You cannot trust anyone. You have to be paranoid to everyone, including the master of the deceptive arts. This is your first lesson. Trust no one and let no one trust you. That way, you will be fully engulfed in the deceptive arts. But part of that is being able to disseminate truth. And knowing truth from lies, then you can use the lies against morality, right? And that strange philosophy, or a self-righteous philosophy of morality and values, really a strange philosophy. But you need to give people good information, which I attempt to do daily. Then you need to be selfish with the money that you receive from those people, right? So I will give you the information on the bachelor life. I will teach you the fundamentals of the deceptive arts. But in return, I do need to be rewarded, right? I do need to be rewarded. This is not an indication of a scam, it is an indication of the success of the process, right? When you go to a lawyer and the lawyer keeps you out of jail, that lawyer must be rewarded. Not because they couldn't have kept you out of jail for free, but because it's an indication of the success of the process and the level of the lawyer's skills, right? As a thief of knowledge, however, I can assure you that knowledge is only as useful as the person who uses it and how they use it, right? So I cannot just give you knowledge and information that you cannot digest, use, and then tangibly see the results and the success. Let me give you an example. I cannot say to you, go and get your money up. Work hard. Do your overtime, extra time every time, right? Save, save, save. Go to the gym. Kill it every day. Run your 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers before you hit the weights, not after, right? Hit that diet. Be disciplined, right? Get your education up. Get your degree. Get your knowledge. Read your books. Get your mental health right. Get your spirit up. And then go get a woman pregnant. You see how that's a contradiction? How all of that work leads you straight down the path of destruction. I can't do that. I need to say, as soon as you get that money, you gotta go get a vasectomy and then go get yourself a woman. Because as soon as she says she's pregnant, that's I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. It's gonna ruin your life. And when it ruins your life, all the people that told you to go out there and run that game are not going to be there when that baby is born. And they're not going to be there in the child support court. And I won't be there either. I won't be there when that woman comes in and tells you she's pregnant. But you'll remember me when you tell her the 4 magic words. Or is it 3? I got a vasectomy. It's 4 words. When she's pregnant and you tell her the magic words, it's over. No more games. No more games. And this information, I guarantee you, right? I guarantee you. So I also guarantee that when you give people the right kind of information and they apply that information and it works every single time, just like lawyers, doctors, and academics alike, right? They will trade a particular type of knowledge, right, that neither one of the others has, right? Tradesmen, artisans, craftsmen, they do the same thing. They trade a particular type of skill and expertise in exchange for money that neither one of the others has, right? The Bachelor Supreme, he gives you the message of the vasectomy, the true message of salvation, and then proceeds to give you the philosophy behind it, the deceptive arts of war, right? Ancient knowledge, ancient wisdom, but with a new purpose. But with a new purpose and a direction that will lead you straight to the success and wealth that you desire without changing anything about your life, without drastic changes to your life and lifestyle and family. You get a vasectomy. On Thursday or Friday, you'll be back to work in less than a week with no changes. But I assure you, the money that you make from that work will be saved and it'll be banked and it will stack up faster than you can ever imagine in your life because you will not need to fear the repercussions of getting a woman pregnant. You will not cow down and you will not bend the knee, right? You won't have delusional conversations about what if this happens to that person and I'm on the left and they're on the right, who would you save first? You tell them straight, I would save myself. Bachelor for life. Get a vasectomy. Get a vasectomy, right? And then be selfish. And then you can truly be selfish, right? And then start to trade your skills, your knowledge, your wisdom for money. And all of us are doing it, right? All of us are doing it for money, right? And it is irrelevant, quite frankly, what you think about money or how you feel about commerce, right? I had to come to this acceptance, and you need to come to that acceptance too, right? What you should dwell on and keep your mind focused on is the fact that whether you like it or not, you need it. You need to learn how to make it, how to keep it, and how to grow it. And you grow it by saving it. Every month, every week, every fortnight, you need to see that number in your bank account go up when that salary comes in. Yes, it goes down when you spend, but when that salary comes in, the difference must be higher than the difference was the previous month. So every month you look at the budget the balance, I beg your pardon, from this month compared to the previous month, and that balance needs to be higher. Month to month, it needs to be higher. Middle of the month, not so much, right? Because that's when you spend most of your money in rent and all kinds of things, right? But you need to learn how to keep money. You need to learn to live with money in your life, right? You need to learn to just stay home and know that you have money in your life, right? Instead of being outside knowing that you have no money, right? It is very tempting to live outside when you want to demonstrate wealth, right? It's very tempting to want to live an abundant life and then have that life displayed to others in an ostentatious and opulent way, right? But those displays, right, that opulence, that is a fast way to poverty, right? Consider this, that people will offer you opulence, and they'll offer you a lifestyle, and they'll offer you a picturesque destination, right? When they offer you all that, those people are working, right? Those offers, that's advertising. And when you arrive, what they're expecting of you is for you to spend money. You spend money to stay in the resort. You spend money to see that view. You spend money to travel. You spend money to move, to eat, right? All those people are working, right? They will trade you anything you want in exchange for money. Comfort, beauty, status, style, right? They'll make you a celebrity. They'll make you feel good as a celebrity because ultimately what they're expecting is to benefit financially from you, right? This it's finances is the only benefit that humanity has, right? Or at least it's one of the greatest benefits. So people will want to benefit either from you directly with you paying them, or from the association that comes being from being with you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I would don't mind people benefiting from an association. What I mind is from them taking money out of my pocket, right? So you can use my knowledge, my skill, my information, if it will benefit you. Discard what isn't useful to you. Keep only what's meaningful for you, and apply that to your own dealings. I'm okay with that. But taking money out of my pocket, that's very difficult to do, right? That's something that I really, really don't agree with, especially if somebody isn't offering you anything, especially if you're not gaining any new insight, or a better understanding of something that you already knew, right? If you're not gaining in terms of knowledge, wisdom, experience from somebody, then what you need to be paying for is their skills and their services, right? So these are two kinds of economies. And I believe, quite frankly, that the digital online economy has to be based on the quality of knowledge and information that you are dispensing to your audience, and also how, right? Are you using the best language that you can? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean using high end vocabulary and diction, but it really means, are you using the type of words and information that will relate to your audience, right? This is what people are going to want to pay for. And people will give you that. Remember, people will give you all of that. They'll tell you anecdotal stories about their lives. I do it all the time. I'll tell you a story about my life. I'll tell you a million stories for $1, right? Strategically, however, you want to create a circumstance where you want to give, where you don't really want to give your money to anyone, right? You want them to give you money without taking any money from you, right? So you want to give them labor, work, skills, knowledge, and in return, they give you money. What you don't want is to find yourself in a situation where your money is flying back to them, right? That's really what working backwards is. So now, not only have you lost skills, time, and effort, you've also lost money, right? And one of the best ways to do that, quite frankly, is to get a vasectomy, right? This will protect your money in the most serious and sincere way, right? Because now you're not raising a child, right? And or any children, and you're not going to be paying any child support. You're guaranteed to never pay any child support, right? And that is a victory all on its own. But here's the irony of this, of having kids in terms of working backwards. Consider if you are a teacher, right? And you have children, and you work at a certain school, and your children go to the same school where you work in. Now, consider that they'll give you a salary, and they'll give you a bill for the tuition, for the school fees. And you just take your salary and give it back to them. That's really how child raising works in terms of economics, right? Whatever you make from the work, you spend it, right? Giving it back to the same corporation. Think of like if you work for medical insurance. You work for medical insurance and they pay you a salary. And then you take the same medical insurance that you work for you, your husband, your wife, your kid, your grandmother, your grandfather, everybody, right? And you put them all in the same medical insurance. As soon as they pay you that money, you got to pay that money back to them. And this is really how it works, right? The government will give you a grant, And you'll take that grant and go spend it on government made products, and they just take their money back from you. Right? This is really how a vasectomy protects you economically. And a lot of people don't see that circular or that circle of transactions. They just see money coming in and money going out, not realizing that the people that are paying you, they just take their money back right away. They're not paying you no salary. You're losing in a tremendous way, right? And this is what I mean by this strategy. You want to create a circumstance, right, where you receive money from someone and you keep that money, right? The only way to make sure that the money doesn't go back into the system is for you to retain it. Yes, I mean, there's the whole question of digital uh, banking. It's only numbers. That's not entirely true. If you go to the bank and you take out X amount, they'll give you paper money in exchange for those numbers. But whatever those numbers mean to you, you need to see those numbers going up, not down, right? So get that vasectomy and protect yourself, right? Children are a tremendously huge expense, perhaps the biggest expense that you will ever have in your life, right? And as the core message of this platform, I intend to relate everything to a vasectomy, as you know, right? And I encourage every man who does not want to be a father, right, to freeze your sperm if you still want the option, um, and then go get that vasectomy, right? Go freeze your sperm, as many sperms as you need, and then go get that vasectomy, right? Because in truth, while these techniques are useful, they will lose their effectiveness, right, in an enduring and sustainable way without a vasectomy, right? It's the same issue of going back to the gym, getting your muscles up, doing whatever you need to do, and then going to get someone pregnant, right? It's really that simple. You're just going to get someone pregnant, especially if you're healthy and you're comfortable and you're stress free and you've lost weight, because then you've got really healthy sperm, really, really healthy sperm. And those sperm are going to do what they do, right? And I'm going to be frank with you. Without a vasectomy, you're pretty much just gambling against God, and you're going to lose, right? You cannot exercise the powers of economic and financial selfishness if you have a child with someone. You cannot be selfish against the mother. You cannot be selfish against the child. You cannot use selfishness to protect yourself from your family, right? It's one thing when you are not the father, where somebody else is the father, where you have a father and you are not somebody's father, right? Doesn't matter how old you are, everybody's somebody's child, right? Unless your parents are unfortunately deceased. But you cannot be selfish to people to whom you're responsible to. And if you think you're not responsible to the mother of the child, you're wrong. Because all your money is going to go straight to her. And you might not think that you're responsible, but the government will make sure that you are. You will be held responsible, right? And if you're not, they will just throw you in jail for child abuse and neglect. And in truth, they would be right to do so, right? To be effective as a selfish bachelor, you'll need a vasectomy, right? And maybe a few 100 million sperm stored somewhere safe, far away, where nobody can access them without the permission of your urologist and your lawyer. But only once you are a vasectomite, only then will you be infused enough with your own solitude, and then you can practice fully the skill of selfishness, as we will see demonstrated in today's video and today's article. But without that vasectomy, you are really just gambling. It's all a huge gamble. And you're gambling that you're not going to get somebody pregnant. That's what the real gamble of life is. It's you are gambling that you're not going to get someone pregnant and you're going to lose. And when you lose, you are going to lose epically. You are going to lose epically. And you should have got that vasectomy and you should have got it when you had the chance, which is quite frankly right now. Today's article is entitled 10 Reasons Why Being Selfish is Important for You. It was published on the 12th of June 2020. It was written by Andrew Wilkinson. I believe Wilco is a pseudonym or a nickname. His website is andrewwilkinson.media.com. And he writes, Andrew says, as I'm writing this, I'm thinking about a Mexican standoff situation at the dinner table last Sunday. There's only one piece of pizza left. A few people are eyeing it, but no one goes in for the kill. I'm just thinking about taking it when my friend cuts it in half. I don't intervene. It's going to keep being halved until we need a scalpel and microscope to finish the job. That's true. Is it selfish of me to want that slice? Yes. I'm still a bit hungry after all, but I'll only take it if no one else wants it. Madness, I tell you. So Andrew's at a dinner table. There's one slice of pizza, and obviously everybody wants that slice of pizza. So one of his friends takes the slice and cuts it into many pieces, right, to distribute across the whole table. But that's not going to be enough pizza for everyone. People are still going to be hungry, right? So he asked that wouldn't it have been better for him to just take the pizza and just eat it all by himself? I don't think so. I think he would have been better off offering the pizza off to somebody else in under human interactions and then later going to buy his own pizza in secret, right? But these are the deceptive arts. These are the deceptive arts, right? Offer the pizza to people, making yourself look good, and then go and then satisfy yourself later in secret, right? But taking the pizza would have been a bad decision. He continues, selfish is a four-letter word. If you call someone selfish, you're probably trying to insult them. Yes, they do use that to insult us, but we know that selfishness is a very good thing. It is the key to self-preservation, which is a pillar of the bachelor life. Would you call yourself selfish, egotistical? Egotistical doesn't sound good, right? And here I am telling you there are not just one but 10 reasons why being selfish is important to you. He has a very peculiar writing style, but I'll try to keep up with him. Welcome to day one of A Whole Academy. Just kidding. This article isn't about empowering you to go out into the world with an attitude of, I come first and screw the rest of you. You should absolutely go out into the world with that attitude, but be deceptive about it, right? Use the deceptive arts to cloak your selfishness, right? Be as a butler and be competitive at work, right? Be deceptive. Be deceptive. No, the point is to develop your ability to feel comfortable in identifying what is important to you and making the necessary compromises to show up fully. Isn't that the same thing as I come first and screw the rest of you, right? To develop your ability to feel comfortable in identifying what is important to you and making the necessary compromises to show up fully for yourself, I assume. So I have compiled a list of what I think are the 10 reasons why being selfish is important for you. Good start. good start to a very interesting article. Let's continue. Andrew asks the question: is there such a thing as good selfishness? For the bachelor life, all selfishness is good. You don't have any backup. No one is coming to protect you, right? He continues. A lot of self-help folks talk about good and bad selfishness. Bad selfishness being when you cold-heartedly go after on your own needs and show no empathy or understanding for other people's feelings or point of view. This is not the same thing, right? We understand other people's feelings and point of views, but we ignore them, right? Because they will ignore our feelings and point of views. And if you think they won't, they will, right? Good selfishness is when taking care of yourself so that you are in a good position to help others, right? Is then taking care of yourself so that you are in a good position to be able to help others. Um, Again, I suggest helping others with a good effort, with the best knowledge and information that you can, but don't give them your money. Don't give people your money. Think about the in flight safety information that they give you before takeoff. They always tell you to make sure you have your own mask on before you help the old ladies and the kids, right? Well, this is the same principle. Um, in truth, by the time you try and help other people, it'll probably be too late. You're wasting your time trying to save the grannies and the kids. Save yourself. But that's two. Or and besides, if you're worried about the grannies, just consider the fact that very soon you'll be at grandpa age, and you'll be the one needing the help. So don't go feeling sorry for them, right? They'll be fine. They've survived longer than you. You are the one who needs to survive and get to their age. Remember that. Let's continue. But that's too black and white for me. Reality is never so simple. No, it's not. I like to look at it as a scale. On one side, you have completely self-serving. On the other side, you have complete selfishness. Self-serving and selfishness. I would have assumed those were synonymous, right? Like they kind of two words that mean the same thing but have different spellings, right? Both of these mindsets are unhealthy. No, they're perfectly healthy. Being completely self-serving is obviously not a good strategy for building good relationships, but then neither is being completely selfless, right? Oh, there's sorry, selflessness. So, selflessness on the other hand, sacrificing yourself for other people, and then selfishness is what he's talking about. So being self-serving, um, both of which he says are not good. Uh, you know, serve other people and get paid, and then be selfish with your money, right? You can. He's right on one side that you cannot be extreme or on both extremes every time, on every situation. But you need to know which situation to be self-serving and which a situation to be helpful. Dangerous situation, self-serving. Money situation, helpful, right? Always do what is necessary to get that money. You are going to need it. You are absolutely going to need that money. He says, uh, being completely self serving is obviously not a good strategy for building good relationships. I just read this, but then neither is being completely selfless. It might sound counterintuitive, but constantly prioritizing other people's needs above your own is probably a big reason why you're not living the life you want. He's talking to you knee benders who are in these relationships, and you're always compromising and constantly putting people above you. The trick is to find a balance. The trick is to just be selfish. Let's look at 10 reasons why being selfish is important for you and see if we can tip the scale in the right direction. I like that. To tip the scale in the right direction. That's what I feel like I'm doing with the bachelor life. I really feel like I'm moving the needle to the true north, right? I feel like I'm holding the needle to the true north of life. And if you think I'm wrong, just wait till you break up from that relationship and wait till that marriage of yours collapses and you'll be straight back to the true north. The difference between you and me is I have lost all hope and I have embraced the reality of the situation. These relationships, they are not going nowhere except to the bank. He says, you'll have better relationships. Being selfless doesn't make you a good person. This is true, right? Being selfless doesn't make you a good person. This is one of the contradictions of morality. In fact, over time, it actually hurts you. It will hurt you. You will become resentful. That's true, and end up with withholding yourself from the relationship, right? This is what happens when you give too much to somebody and you're expecting them to give the same or more back and they don't. Then you become resentful and you start the silent treatment and all kinds of things, right? You're wondering what causes the silent treatment? It's resentfulness. If you rely on another person to fill your emotional needs, that relationship will be fragile. True. And every relationship does this, right? Every relationship, one person relies on somebody or both people rely on each other for their emotional needs, which means both of you are fragile and so will the relationship be. The strongest relationships are those where two people show up fully, are open and honest with each other. No, 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 no. We're not doing that. You see, every article has this self-righteousness, open and honest. This is why we preach the deceptive arts with such seriousness. This openness, this honesty is really what's got your life destroyed, right? There's things in your life that you should be keeping private into yourself, and you're opening those things up to other people. And they are shocked when they hear these things about you. Learn to keep some secrets, man. Ignore that whole part about open and honest to each other. Give me a break. Listen to what he says, and are not afraid to express themselves. Do not express yourself. Do you honestly think I can go into my workplace and talk about the bachelor life and vasectomies and counterparts and knee benders? You honestly think I can do that? These are my most fundamental beliefs. I'm absolutely not doing that. I'll get fired in a day. Don't go expressing yourself. Lie. Lie. This is why you have the lies, so you don't have to risk yourself unnecessarily. This is why you have vagaries, so you don't have to give concrete answers. This is why you use euphemisms, so you don't get sued. Right? You could talk about the process without talking about the people in the process. Let's use the deceptive arts fully. Do not be expressing yourself unless you have got your face clearly covered over a nice dark veil, hooded so that even the brightest light cannot show not one single detail of who you are. And then let your message speak for itself. If the message is true, the people will adopt it. And if your message is false, your falsehoods will show. And I'm telling you, don't go telling nobody the truth. And get a vasectomy and lie about that. He continues, this is achieved by initially being more selfish. I don't understand how being selfish has anything to do with exposing yourself with honesty. And he doesn't even elaborate. He just stops right there. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Don't go telling people anything. You've embraced the bachelor life and the deceptive arts. Right? Don't go telling people anything about yourself. You'll have more time for yourself. This is absolutely true, right? Time for yourself is the key to being able to achieve tremendous goals. I wouldn't be able to make these videos if I had kids running around here, right? So I can be consistent because I am consistent. Let's continue. Human beings are social animals, not all of us, but also need time for themselves, and being selfish means you are so concerned about letting people down. Uh, what he says, being selfless means you are so concerned about letting people down that you agree to things whether you want to do them or not. I've been there myself in the romance wars where I just agreed to do things, quite frankly, that I didn't want to do. Baby showers and listening to stories about these nephews that are in prison, always in prison, all day long in prison. It's just frustrating, and you don't really care about these things, right? You're just trying to be supportive, but these aren't your issues, you know. And I don't know why I need to be talking about baby toys, or I don't know why I need to be talking about incarceration when number one, I'm not a criminal, and two, that's not my baby. He continues, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you should never help people out. Just give them good advice, but no money. That can actually be beneficial and make you feel good about yourself, indeed, yes. Being productive can make you feel good, right? And helping people can make you, um, you know, feel productive. He says, but you have to be selective. When you start saying no, you will have more time for yourself to focus on things that are important to you, for relaxing, developing your skills, self reflection, and so on. All of this is very true. Ultimately, you will be in a better position to help people when you really want to, if you choose to. This implies that when you are in a better situation, you can choose where you put your energy and where you don't, right? So you can choose if you want to help people or not. Uh, does that mean upsetting people sometimes? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But you know what? They will get over it. Sometimes they don't. And isn't it selfish of them to ask you in the first place? That's a very good point that he makes. Andrew makes a very good point. So they are being selfish by asking you to be selfless. That's a point that I didn't actually try to get to. But this is also the issue with the deceptive arts. Most people will ask you to be honest while they are being deceptive because they don't want you to be deceptive while they are being deceptive, right? Because that means now they need a better deception, which they won't have, right? And anybody that's telling you to be honest and open is only because saying that because they have something specific that they want to say. There are things about them that they would never tell you, which means they're lying about by omission, right? So you know that if somebody's not telling you something, that's a lie also, right? And if people say, well, you have to be honest, that's a lie too, right? So the irony of honesty is that it is surrounded by lies, filtered through lies, and given to you through lies. And those lies are very easy to see because people are inherently selfish. So if they're telling you not to be selfish, that's hypocrisy, that's a contradiction, and a contradiction is always a lie. You'll be happier if you are selfish. If you embrace selfishness and the deceptive arts, then you don't have to spend all the time worrying about deceiving people. Oh, I shouldn't be lying. Oh, I feel bad about lying. Just accept it as a philosophy. Even if you can accept morality as one philosophy and one style of expression, accept deception and lies as another philosophy and another form of expression. And you can access both of them at any time you want. You don't need to feel guilty about it. Right? People don't feel guilty when they lie to you, and you've been lied to your entire life, right? And don't say you haven't. Let's continue to discuss your happiness. If you're spending more time doing the things you really want to do, meeting your own needs, you will feel happier and more fulfilled and also more satisfied. But there's a catch. If you are focused on feeling guilty about being selfish, you won't allow yourself to be happy. To get past this, you have to give yourself permission to be selfish. Yes, right? You do need to focus on yourself and you need to let go of that guilt. you really need to let go of that guilt. That guilt was taught to you when you were young, so they would be able to control you when you're older, right? And they taught it to you from so that you have nothing else to compare it with. So they taught you guilt first and then nothing else to compare it to. So you don't even know that you don't actually have to feel guilty for doing anything, not as a bachelor, right? What you should be worried about, quite frankly, is getting somebody pregnant, right? Yeah, that's gonna ruin your life. Your needs matter, and you know what? Other people want you to be happy. It doesn't matter what they want. Stop looking for other people's approval, right? Only people's approval you should be looking for are people who pay you money. Because their satisfaction has an actual direct consequence. People whose satisfaction has no consequence for you mean nothing. When you truly understand that you will also understand that taking time for yourself to do the things that are important you you do doesn't make you a bad person. He has very strange writing patterns, right? And I'm really trying to follow him, and he's trying to use nuance, and he gets it across, but it's very difficult when you're reading direct, and you will allow yourself to be happy, right? Taking time for yourself to do the things that are important to you doesn't make you a bad person, right? It makes you actually a good person, makes you an intelligent person. It's different when you already have kids because you are responsible for them. But when you don't have kids, you don't have to justify your time to people, right? When you haven't been married or anything like that, you don't really have to justify your free time to people. Work is something completely different. But outside of work, you really don't need to justify your free time. You can spend all day just working out and not have to say anything about it. You can make videos all day and not justify it to anyone, right? This is the benefit of getting that vasectomy. But you won't be able to achieve any of this with clarity and peace of mind if tomorrow somebody will walk into your house and tell you they're pregnant. Just tomorrow. Just think about that. Today could be your last day of freedom. You'll be better at making decisions, Andrew says. One of the traits of selfless behavior is going along with what other people want so you don't disappoint them. When you start being more selfish, asking yourself what you really want, you will stop making decisions based on other people's needs. Again, very easy to do for a bachelor, very difficult for a knee bender, right? You got those kids, you got that baby mama, and if you don't capitulate, you have the charge to answer to. Uh, do this enough and it will become a habit. You will be better at identifying exactly what you need and making a conscious decision to get it, right? So the more selfish you are, the better you get at it, right? This is very good advice here by Andrew, right? So you got to practice that selfishness, right? As we practice the deceptive arts, right? And the best way to do that is to save your money, right? Practice storing your money, and then from there you'll see really just how many opportunities you get to be selfish. But with your positivity, your energy, your knowledge, your wisdom, your information, especially if you're a person who's knowledgeable with good information, go ahead and share that information with the world in the most positive way that you can, but not your money. Absolutely not the money. Selflessness has its roots in the strange philosophy that givers gain. I'm sure you've heard about that philosophy. This is a proverb that, quite frankly, is misunderstood, right? Um, you give some and you get some. So, what you give in terms of value, you should receive in terms of value, right? So, Effectively, what I'm saying is you're going to trade your knowledge, your skills, your information, your expertise in exchange for money, right? What you want to do is you want to give somebody information that is more valuable than the cash value that they give you. You want your skills, so when you do something for them in terms of repairs and that kind of thing, you want your skills along with the equipment, along with the material that you use to make the actual repairs. You want that when you are finished doing that work and the person sees that work, they realize that, like a butler, the way that a butler does things, right? Which is of an excellent, magnanimous standard. That's what you want people to take away. You want them to see the quality of your work displayed in front of them. I always say, let the work speak for itself, right? Let your work speak for itself. Give them more in terms of usefulness, in terms of value, in terms of skills and capacity than what they give you in terms of cash. And that way, both of you don't feel cheated because he knows what he got is a very, very good product at a very, very low price. And you know that you have high level skills, so producing a good product with low cost is easy for you. And you get that money, you feel like you're getting rich, he feels like you're getting rich. But giver's gain doesn't mean if you give him money, he's gonna come back and give you money. No. It means that if you give him money, he must give you a high level of skills in return. Thereby, you gain from his skills. Don't give people your money. And don't misunderstand Proverbs, right? Proverbs are ambiguous. They were written in an ancient time, a time, before we recorded things. So they have twisted their meanings. And if you follow that giver's gain mentality without giving an effort more than a cash value, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. You're going to wonder, why aren't people paying me my value? Why aren't people paying me my worth? I'm at this level of skill, but they're only paying this much because you're not following the giver's gain proverb properly. You're not giving more than what they deserve, than what you get financially. You're looking for an equivalent, and then you're hoping that by giving them money, they'll give you more. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, right? You have to be a person who excels, right? That's how that philosophy works. And if you misunderstand it, you'll then think, oh, but how is this selfishness? That's what I'm saying. Be generous with your skills, be generous with your knowledge, be generous with your wisdom, but don't give nobody no money under any circumstances, right? Nobody, right? If you see somebody that's poor, give them advice. Don't give them a meal, right? Teach them how to catch a fish and leave them in the water to fend for themselves. Let's continue. You'll no longer be living on autopilot, he says. Living on autopilot can vary from zoning out while watching reruns of Friends. Nobody likes Friends, those people aren't funny. To spending years of your life with no purpose other than getting through each day and making enough money to pay bills and put food on the table. He sounds like a knee bender over here, right? But effectively, you need to be in control of your life. You need to have a plan. You need to make plans, and you need to stick with them, right? You need to know beforehand what you're going to do. This is what control is. Control doesn't mean making a decision on the spot, a spontaneous decision. That's an indication of a lack of control, right? Spot decisions. You need to have a plan, and you need to understand if the plan is deviating or improve. Make plans, but always leave yourself open to taking advantage. So when you see something that you didn't plan for, but it's an advantage, go ahead and take that advantage, right? But make a plan. When you are making a conscious effort to put your needs first, you're automatically living more mindfully. This is true, right? But you need to know what your needs are so you can put them first. You have to focus in order to identify your needs. If you start being more selfish today, you might even avoid having to wake up one day feeling like you've missed out on your life. This is truly the bachelor life. You don't want to wake up one day realizing that you've really been living your life for people who you don't even like anymore. You don't even share anything in common with your kids anymore, right? But you've spent your whole life raising them, and it is what it is, right? If that's where you're at right now, welcome to the rest of your life. It's time to. If that's where you're at right now, let me read that again. Welcome to the rest of your life. It's time to get more selfish and copy the expletive out of that diem, my friend. Carpe diem means seize the moment. It's Latin, an ancient and dead language. We really lost a lot there when we lost Latin. Let's continue with confidence. You'll be more self confident. There you go. Self confidence doesn't come overnight, it can. I know that only too well. It's like a muscle that needs to be exercised, depends on the muscle. Uh, Actively becoming more selfish means getting clear on what is important to you, finding skillful ways to stand up for yourself and meet those needs, and putting more value on yourself by reminding yourself that you're worth it. If you're in a habit of doing the opposite, ignoring and undermining your needs, backing down and giving in, it will take practice. But don't get overwhelmed, he says. Start small and work your way up. I think you can completely ignore that entire section, right, about confidence. Real confidence comes from being prepared and knowing what the outcome will be before you get there. Real confidence comes from knowing what you are doing and doing it well. It doesn't come from giving you mantras and speaking positively about yourself. That is only going to frustrate you because now you're just lying yourself. Just lying to yourself and inducing more of that male delusion. If you want real confidence as a bachelor in the bachelor life, you need to get a vasectomy. Knowing that you are not going to get someone pregnant will give you the confidence that you need to act with absolute confidence. That's really what it comes down to. If you are in these romance wars, dating, she knows that if you get her pregnant, are you going to be able to maintain these costs and these bills? And if the answer to that is no, you'll get rejected. But if you know that you cannot handle those bills, you cannot handle that responsibility. See, I know this. I know that I can't handle that responsibility. Absolutely not. I cannot carry a family. I cannot lead a household. I cannot raise kids and pay tuition and support a wife during postpartum depression and manage a full time job and stay fit and stay healthy. I can't do all that. It's just not possible for me, right? So I got a vasectomy, and because I know that my absolute failure is completely out of the question, I can act with confidence. But I could never act with confidence having the fear that I'm going to get someone pregnant. And it is a genuine, real fear that men really don't talk about. I'm talking about it now because I found a real way over that fear, and it didn't come through mantras. It came through taking action. Get a vasectomy before you get someone pregnant. You'll get more respect. I don't know about all that. An essential part of being more selfish is setting boundaries. You have to know where you end and other people begin. That that could be a bit of a problem. People aren't very good with boundaries, and they see selfishness as a problem, right? So I don't know if it'll actually earn you more respect. The more boundaries you have, the more people are tempted to cross your boundaries. Like, there are people who, you know, I'll give you a real life example. There are people who knew that I wasn't a person who likes going out, right? Because, like I said, I have my system, right? I'll work hard for 90 days and then I'll take a 2 or 3 week vacation and then go and live my life and enjoy myself, right? But then there are people who would insist on going out on a Thursday or a Friday night when I know I probably have work on Saturday, right? I'll have real things that I have to do on Saturday. But they'll ask you out and you'll say, no, no, thank you. Then they'll keep asking you to come out with them, right? To make until it becomes like a point of contention. Then it'll be an issue of, oh, why don't you go out with us? Why do you always reject us, right? You'll have that boundary and say, I don't go out during these times. And people will force that, right? They'll force that issue. That's why you gotta drink that 0% alcohol. Just go out with them, have a few drinks, 0%, and then go home, right? Because they'll really make it an issue, right? And they'll make it seem that you are antisocial when quite frankly they're just not productive and they're not being efficient, right? And it's always the fat lazy people, and it's always these guys, these guys in the office that think that they're still cool. There's always a guy at work who still thinks he's the cool teenager in high school, and you can always tell him his personality is always wearing a shirt with jeans. So he won't wear trousers. He'll wear a shirt because he has to come to work, but he'll wear jeans because he wants to still look cool. And his shirt won't be buttoned all the way, right? These are greasy looking people. They never wear a tie. They never wear a tie, right? And they'll say things like, oh, I don't want to wear a tie because it makes me unapproachable, right? Effectively, they dress themselves like a slob to try and look and feel younger. But you'll see the gray come through their beard and the wrinkles on their face, and they're really not pulling it off when what people are looking for is an older statesman, somebody who's more dignified and experienced, right? So now here you are, trying to be cool because you're trying to earn other people's respect, right? When what you need to do is quite frankly, use deception, right? Use deception. Don't expect to get anybody's respect, not for setting boundaries, right? But don't be that loser, man. Guys, age gracefully. Let go of childish ways and age gracefully. Stop trying to be cool in your 40s and 50s. In fact, don't try to be cool in your 30s. Leave that in your 20s. Let's continue. That means opinions, emotions, and actions. Constantly being selfish will result in you becoming detached from being selfless, I beg your pardon, will result in you becoming detached from yourself, basing your opinions on other people's, taking responsibility for their emotions, and relying on others to make decisions for you. Yeah, this is not the bachelor life. I definitely don't recommend following anyone, even if their standards and finances are higher than you. If you want to be a real bachelor, you have to live your own life in your own skin. You cannot be living vicariously through other people. You can't be responsible for their emotions, and you can't allow them to be responsible for your finances. When you're acting more selfishly, you're always asking yourself what you want. You become more convicted in your opinions, more empathetic, and more decisive in your actions. Which version do you think people respect? People respect people who respect them. So if you stand too much on your square, you have to be flexible. You have to be flexible, is what I'm saying, right? Especially in terms of like politics. When people ask you what's your political leaning, just tell them you're an independent, Right, just tell them that no, I'm an independent. I actually do myself. I am truly an independent. I am interested in politics, but I'm an independent. In other words, I think both sides are lying, right? But don't try to win people's respect, right? This is the level of selfishness that you have to be, right? You have to be so selfish that other people's approval means nothing to you. You'll be an inspiration. I don't know so much about that, but let's find out. Do you want to be a positive example to others, a role model to your kids? Okay, so he has kids. Being more selfish is about understanding your needs, growing your confidence, standing your ground, having solid, honest relationships. There he goes with that honesty again, and living up to your values. Oh, I had a feeling he was gonna start all this right when he said, "Be an inspiration." Look, he starts with the kids. Don't have any kids. Don't try to inspire people, guys. Just live your life. You're a bachelor. Be satisfied with having money and being rich, right? Forgo fame. Advance without seeking fame. Retreat without feeling shame. Make a strategic decision, right? If being famous is what you want to do, then at least be good at it. Be effective at it. Let it make you money, right? Let it reward you somehow. But do be an inspirational be inspirational, but be rewarded for it. Don't do it because you want to give kids hope in the future. Forget all that. Kids don't care, man. Kids want to watch their shows, they want to play their games, and they want to be with their friends. They really don't care about the future at all. They'll deal with it when it gets there. There are very few kids who think about the future, and whatever they think about the future, you have to know is absolutely wrong, right? The best thing they can hope for is to choose a career and work towards that. But otherwise, they have no idea how that career is going to go, right? You can forget this honesty and these honest relationships. You're not getting an honest relationship, nor are you going to live up to your values, right? Forget those values. Just be deceptive. As you do this, other people can't help but take notice and be inspired by you to tune into their own needs and will even come to you for advice when they're feeling unsure of themselves. I don't know so much about that. People don't really, I mean, maybe they'll come to you feeling unsure about themselves, but I think this is very much young people. But even then, most people are quite stubborn, right? So don't be selfish to try and inspire people. This is a bit of a contradiction. You're being selfish so you can help other people feel better. That's not for me. We're not doing that. You'll take ownership of your problems. I like that. Giving to others and being generous can feel great. You know that feeling when you give someone a surprise gift and they're really happy about it and you feel proud of yourself for being such a great partner, parent, friend, but constantly giving to others at the expense of your own needs, as I've already mentioned, is emotionally draining and will lead you to resentment. I agree with all of that. There are moments where like a colleague is retiring and you buy them a gift and reward them for 40, 50 years of work, that kind of thing, right? So there is a point where giving to people helps you feel good, but also you don't want to drain yourself, right? Or create resentment. That's why I say give the best skill, the best knowledge, the best information, the best wisdom, and retain something for yourself. Choose what you're going to be selfish about, right? Don't just be randomly selfish. Oh, I want that last piece of pizza, that last slice of pizza. It's irrelevant. That's irrelevant, right? Choose what you're going to be selfish about. There's no point in being selfish with petty, inconsequential things, right? Protect your money, protect your assets, those kinds of things, things that actually matter. Share your knowledge and wisdom. Show people how lovely you are. Be an inspiration if you want to be. I could care less about your inspirational abilities. But protect your money. Be selfish with your resources, right? but generous with your skills. By being more selfish, you develop your own self awareness. This is true. You know what you need and you accept that. Ultimately, you are responsible for meeting those needs. This is also true, right? You are responsible for yourself, and that's a good thing. That also goes for problems. Instead of blaming your circumstances or the other people in your life, you recognize that you are responsible for creating and solving your own problems. If you have a counterpart, they will bring the problems to you. But I find that as a bachelor, um, out of the romance wars, I find that in this sort of circumstances, I have very few problems. And I have very few people bringing problems to me. With a counterpart, it was a different problem every day. And if it wasn't her problems, it was somebody else's problems. And then if there were no other problems, she would say she has a problem with me. Right? It was just nothing but problems. And you cannot solve them. Really, you cannot solve them. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Not be me? Really? Now I'm supposed to what? Change and act like a rapper? Unacceptable. Absolutely not. Under no circumstances. Let's continue. You'll become more loving and generous. This is a bit of a contradiction. An analogy I came across quite a lot, and that resonates with me personally, is the empty cup. Think about your needs as a cup. If you don't prioritize and ask for the things you need, you're going around with an empty cup. I'm not an empty cup. Every relationship you go into, every interaction you go into, you do it with your empty cup. You do it from a place of lack, looking to other people to fulfill your needs. This is not good. Oh, I see now. Now you're an empty cup and you need other people to fill that cup by fulfilling your needs. Okay, the word for that is needy. That is not a desirable trait in a friend, lover, or parent. By being more selfish, you are making sure that your needs are met, that your cup is full to the brim, it's overflowing. And guess what? When you've got that much in your cup, it's no problem to share with others. You give to others from a place of generosity instead of obligation, expecting something in return. Let's use the empty cup metaphor with finances, right? So if you're going around with low finances because you've just spent all your money on other people, that's gonna cause a lot of frustration, right? That's gonna cause a lot of frustration. Over here, he talks about emotional needs. So he's obviously trying to be loved, or he's giving it from a feminine point of view, which is okay in itself. But effectively, if you don't have the things that you need, you're not going to be able to be effective in the places where you want to be, like work, for example, which we all spend a lot of time in, right? So if you are not okay, you will not be able to be okay at work, right? You won't be able to give your best knowledge, information, and skills, right? Your best of your expertise. So I'll give him that, right? But as for these emotional problems, these sound like people who are in relationships. And in relationships, emotional content is always lacking. There's just not enough. Like, as a man, you just don't have enough emotional content to fulfill the counterpart's drastic needs. Personally, I feel like you're probably just wasting your time. So, Andrew gives us some tips here near the end. He says, how to flex your selfish muscles. I hope I've provided some convincing arguments as to why being selfish is important for you, he has. But knowing that and practicing it are two different things. So you really have to start by asking yourself what you really want and how much you want it. Do this multiple times a day in every possible situation. I agree. But I think that, you can only ask yourself what do you want and how much you want it to a certain extent if you have real responsibilities. As a bachelor, there's really no limit to what that can be, and there's no limit to what I'm willing and able to try because I have the time. And really, I don't really lose anything by trying something new, even a business idea and that fails, right? I don't have children that will either be well fed if I'm succeed or they'll starve to death if I fail, right? So I don't have that added pressure. If it succeed, it's good. If it's not, I can actually you can actually benefit from failure. You can take the failure from one job and use it as experience for when you apply for another job, right? So, you don't really have that added pressure, and you can be as ambitious as you want. Slow down and listen to your feelings, he says. Too many feelings, Andrew. Is this what you truly want, or are you just reacting to fear or displeasing someone? Are you following old patterns? What would you do if you knew there would be no consequences for anyone else? There are always consequences, right? Ask yourself these questions often enough, and it will become second nature. I talked easier about a selfish scale. Well, how do you know exactly where you are on the selfish scale, or on the scale, I beg your pardon? When is it tipping too far to one side or the other? This can be difficult to gauge, especially if you are new to being more selfish. So, effectively, what he's saying here is trust your feelings, right? I would like to give you a new approach to this, right? Rather than trusting your instincts. When you come out of the romance wars, you need to do some time of monk mode and recovery, right? Don't go start a new relationship. Just rebuild your finances and your body and your mind first, right? But as you're doing this, what will happen is you'll start to identify certain things that you need. Not things that you want, that you like, that you desire, because all those things will probably be residual memories from the romance wars. You need to allow those to wash over you and gravitate to the things that you need, that you prioritize, right? Prioritize those things that you need. Eventually, what happens is you see that your needs change and your priorities change along with the needs. And soon enough, the patterns that you followed in the romance wars will be completely different, right? So then what happens is because those patterns are different, those needs will be different and your instincts will be different and you will be different, right? But if you are still coming out of the romance wars, or you're in the romance wars, your instincts are really not yours, and you cannot trust your feelings. They will betray you. They will truly betray you, right? I like to ask myself a couple of questions. He concludes: what do I want in this situation? What is best for me? How does this affect other people? A fair question. Is there a way that we can all meet our needs? If not, what am I willing to compromise? Right? So, know thyself. Know thyself. Know what you want. Right? So, know that when you go into the romance war, even then know what you want. Don't go in there and then try and find something, right? Know what's in it for you. Know where the point of victory is. Go straight for that point of victory and then exit. Don't go in and then try and find something good because you're not going to find something good. So know yourself. Know yourself. Know what you're willing to give to people, right? And then give all of that. So I know that I'm willing to give my experience as the Bachelor Supreme, my knowledge in the deceptive arts, the script, the manuscript that comes with that. So I'm not just giving you my philosophy, I'm giving you the background. I also know, I really know what I'm trying to give to you, right? And it might not be what other people are giving to you, but I do know that I'm willing to give the best of it to you. What I'm not giving you is my money. You see how that goes? And you need to be the same. Now, I'm talking in terms of working, right? I'm talking in terms of being productive, right? Socially, you're gonna have to spend some money. You wanna go on a date, you're gonna have to spend some money, right? You wanna be in the romance world, your lady needs help, your kids need some help, you're gonna have to spend some money. You spend time with people, you're gonna have to spend some money. I mean, a situation where you're working and then spending your money on the things that you're working on, and not being able to reap any rewards from that, right? You need to decide what you're giving to people professionally and give that. And then you need to decide the point of victory for you and say, well, this is what I'm trying to earn back, right? And earn that, right? Know beforehand what you want and then go for it. And if while you are there you see something advantageous, take that too. But then leave. Don't stick around and linger, right? If while you are away you remember something else that may have been advantageous, then of course you can return and act with confidence, right? Have a discussion with the other people who are involved. Be open and listen to their side of things. And remember that the sign of a good, healthy relationship is when we are showing up fully, being open and honest. No, it's not. And not afraid to express ourselves. Please don't do this. Please do not be honest. Do not open yourself up or express yourself fully, right? Be deceptive. Practice the deceptive arts, right? If you're going to be open about like work experience, things that are provable. Don't go telling people your desires, right? What is your experience of being selfish? Have you been in a relationship with someone who was too selfish or too selfless? I think people who've been in relationships with me will tell you that I'm too selfish. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for reading. And he signs off, Andrew Wilco Wilson. Thank you, Andrew, for that tremendous article. I truly appreciate it. Again, just a small bit of what you need to know in terms of being selfish. Be strategically selfish. Be strategically deceptive, right? Your deception is the tool that you use to attack and defend yourself, right? But your selfishness is what is going to keep you sustained. It's going to keep you wealthy. It's going to keep your money in the bank, right? This is really what you want to do. And the first step towards that selfishness is getting yourself a vasectomy and protecting yourself from the things that are going to cause you poverty. And at the peak of that is absolutely going to be child raising, right? So get a vasectomy, protect yourself, keep yourself safe, man. Keep yourself safe. This is the truth. Nobody else is going to try and protect you, right? Nobody else is going to offer you protective information. Myself, I'm offering this information indeed because I see an opportunity to create something of value. But not only that, I also realize that I will not be successful unless I'm giving you not just good information, unbeatable information, right? You need to be able to take this information that has to do with the vasectomy and being a vasectomite and compare it to every other philosophy out there. And I assure you, all those philosophies are going to lead you to one place and one place only: the maternity ward in the hospital. You'll be standing there waiting to see your baby come into the world. Every single other philosophy is going to lead you there. You are going to be a father. I don't care how selfish you want to be, you are going to be a father. right? I am not a urologist. I don't make a single cent from getting a vasectomy, but I preach it every day because I know if I don't preach the highest quality message of the bachelor life in its purest essence, you're going to fail. And I will be leading you deliberately to the slaughter. Again, I'll repeat it. Get your money up. Get your money up. Be as rich as you possibly can. Go ahead and be a billionaire. Right? Be the smartest man in the world. Go ahead and be the smartest man in the world. Go and be the most famous man in the world. Let everybody know you. Right? We've seen what women are doing to famous men. She'll embarrass you in front of the whole world, having affairs with teenagers. You know who I'm talking about. The most famous man in the history of the world. Undone. Undone because he didn't have a vasectomy. The richest man in the world. Undone because he didn't have a vasectomy. The most educated men in the world. Undone because they didn't have a vasectomy. Right? The most pious man, the most moral man, the most religious man, the most faithful, the most academic, all of them completely undone because they didn't have a vasectomy. So I implore you, go ahead and test the theory of the vasectomy against all other theories. And I will happily submit to any better philosophy. Happily, I will submit to any better philosophy. Right? If this philosophy is going to somehow prevent you from having these kids, and that philosophy is going to keep you out of child support, and it's going to keep you from getting divorced, and it's going to keep you from paying those tuition fees, that college tuition, all of that. If it's going to keep you away from having those kids and the hardships of raising those kids, then I'll follow that. And I will say that is the truth of the bachelor life. Right? As a lifelong bachelor, I will happily submit to that philosophy. But so far, I have not yet found one. And I have not yet found another path to salvation. Not even this selfishness nonsense here. You try and do this selfishness nonsense, a woman will get pregnant on you in 3 days to shut that all down. Right? And then another one after that. Right? Because now you're preaching something that, quite frankly, offends them. But if you have a vasectomy, you'd be happy to get them to try and get pregnant. Or you'll be happy to let them do it. So you need to go get that vasectomy. Let that be the first selfish thing you do. Get that vasectomy and protect yourself, and protect your seed, and protect your solitude. And then only will you be strong enough in the power of the solitude to practice all of these things with absolute confidence, because you know they'll succeed. This is the Ancient One. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it, and I always appreciate your attention. Have a nice day.